who are joining us for the first time today. I'm your host, Sarah Owen, and this is a show where we take a problem-solving mindset to anything. We talk about fashion, we talk about marine biology, we talk about history, the very important work in which they're engaged, and I'm sure that it will inspire many who aspire to do this type of work as well, because there's so much that we can do, and there's so much that is much easier to do than we often think it is. So we can be part of the solution in a very practical way, sometimes much more readily than we think is possible, right?
Yes.
So, as usual, this program would not be possible at all without our fantastic sponsors. So we have to continue to give thanks to the good people at Rams, who are also the good food people. It's Friday, people, so if you're listening and you're looking for something to go and enjoy, you know where to go. Rams is all over the place, so you must be able to find one. Go and get yourself something wonderful from the good food people. This Friday is also a Flow-tastic Friday, so thanks to our sponsors at Flow. Go in, check them out across their outlets in St. Kitts and Nevis. Check them out online, see what's happening with Flow. And we also want to express our gratitude to TDC. Together we achieve. Now, that's a nice nation-building slogan for you there. So it tells you that this company is all about us, and it's a company that you can get anything from your car to your candles to your light bulbs to, so many different things. So they are providing service to us in many, many ways. And for this, we are very grateful. So stay tuned. We're going to take a little break, hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to jump into this wonderful episode of Creative Voices.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
What are you doing?
She said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, she said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, cause when we out and we active, living we life. So when we drinking, root boy. So when we drinking, root boy. Oh, Miss Lady, anyway you see we building up our vibes. So when we drinking, root boy. So when we drinking, root boy. Why?
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Tune in to Creative Voices, the ultimate radio call-in program where innovation meets inspiration. Join me, Dr. Sarah Owen, as I welcome brilliant Caribbean creatives and innovators for engaging sessions that promise to spark your creativity. Don't miss this unique opportunity to interact with our guests, ask your burning questions, and gain insights that could elevate your own creative endeavors. Tune in every other Friday from 10 a.m. to midday. Get inspired. Let your voice be heard. Mark your calendars and prepare to embark on a journey of creativity and innovation with Creative Voices.
Good morning and welcome back to Creative Voices. You are tuned into what promises to be a truly engaging, wonderful, and fantastic conversation with some of the many wonderful women of Island Girls Rock. Right. I sped through that a little too
That's
quickly,
fine.
so I had to honor it with a little time. Slow the pace a little bit and
okay.
make sure I got all the words out right. So we have with us in studio at present Chantal Miller, who's a community builder and founder of Island Girls Rock. And we also have Ayana McCallman, writer, legal literacy researcher, attorney at law. And we have Davinia Tomlinson, Cash's Queen, author, no stranger to the Bougainvillea Books and Gifts family, and award-winning entrepreneur, podcaster, and public speaker. By the way, I just have to plug that two of the women in the studio with us have had their pictures on a billboard in the UK for their fantastic work with their absolutely amazing podcasts. So claps
Thank you.
and applause
Thank
for
you.
both of you. So your work has been recognized, and I think that that's a good place for us to start. So Chantal, maybe I'll start with you
Okay.
to tell us a bit about Island Girls Rock, but also a big part of what we are keen on learning at Creative Voices is the stories behind the people who make this type of contribution. So it's about the
Okay.
work, but it's also about you. Like, how
Okay.
did you journey to get here? What made you
wow.
take that path that has led you to where we are today and what
Okay.
we're discussing today? And for each of you, we're really interested in learning that, because it's those stories that are important for us to tell, important for us to record, and that will inspire other people as well. So I'll start with you, Chantal.
I mean, putting me on the spot. Sarah.
Yes, that's what this show
Thank
is
you so
going to do
much.
for 2 hours. Yes. Okay, go ahead. Yes.
So, okay. Thank you for that lovely introduction, by the way. I am Chantal, the founder of Island Girls Rock. And Island Girls Rock is new to St. Kitts and Nevis. We're 4 years in, but it actually began 10 years ago in London. I was living in London at the time, was working for an amazing PR agency, and every weekend after the weekend, I would come in with all these stories about events that I'd hosted, which were all very Caribbean focused, Caribbean women focused. And one day, the founder of the agency said, Chantal, I think you need to do something. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, because you're so passionate about girls and women of the Caribbean and making sure their stories are amplified and they're included in all the things that happen in London. You need to do something. And I'm like, okay. So I thought about it. It was a thought, right? And that same year, I came home very briefly for like a few weeks. And while
And
I
just
was,
for our listeners, home
is Nevis. I'm so
Right.
sorry. Home is Nevis.
I just want to make sure
Queen
that's
City,
clear. Right.
Queen
Okay.
City, Owali, all the things.
Yes. This
Home-
is not home in Manchester,
No.
home in somewhere else in London,
And
or you know.
no, home is Nevis. But you know what, Sarah? The other day, I calculated where I'd spent most of my years, and shockingly, it was the UK. And I'm like, no, okay, no, we gotta do
Yeah.
better. We gotta do better. So yeah. So I was home in Nevis
Right,
one
got it.
year. Was curating an exhibition for the 40th anniversary of Culturama, and I was like, I really do need to do something about making sure that our artists are seen everywhere. And so I thought, oh, Island Girls Rock, because we do. All right. So I literally, at that moment, it was in the days of Skype. I hesitated because obviously I'm now aging myself. But it was before Zoom, or before Zoom blew up, it was Skype. So I jumped on Skype with a few of my friends in London and said, hey, I have this idea. I want to do this thing. They're like, yeah, we're down. Right? Went back to England, forgot about it because life, but didn't forget. It was in my mind. I parked it, right? In my mind, Tropical Storm Erica then happened in Dominica. There were a bunch of young people going around London doing amazing events. So I just got in touch with them and said, hey, do you need some help? How can I help you? What can I do? And they said, have an event. I said, okay. So I had an event where it was focused on Dominica, so storytellers from Dominica, dancers from Dominica, spoken word artists. We screened films from Dominican filmmakers, all women. And I thought, okay, this is Island Girls Rock. And all my friends were wearing these T-shirts that said Island Girls Rock. For me, in my mind, so that people could identify who's working the event. Who can they go to with their questions, their donations, their, for help. Halfway through the brunch, people are like, oh, where can we get the T-shirts? Oh, and when's the next one? I'm like, next one? This is just a thing that we're trying. What do you mean next one? And honestly, that's how Island Girls Rock began in London. It was always my intention to be doing work in the Caribbean, especially in the Eastern Caribbean, the smaller islands. We're small, but we're Taloa, but we're not, at that time, we weren't as seen, we weren't as heard. And for me, that has always been a driving passion. How do we raise and amplify the stories of people from the Eastern Caribbean, the smaller islands? So when people think about the Caribbean, it's not just Jamaica. I'm half Jamaican, no disrespect. Hello, Jamaica. Trinidad, Barbados. But we're thinking Martinique, Guadeloupe, Anguilla, Antigua, St. Kitts, Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius. Like, what happened to us? We're not in the things. So my driving force really was centered on that. And to be quite honest with you, Island Girls Rock in London just grew organically. Every year we would sit down with the London team. Okay, strategically, this is what we're doing this year, and this is what we're doing. But it was almost as if Island Girls Rock had a mind of its own and was leading us to things. People were coming to us. We ended up in the House of Parliament when the whole Windrush scandal broke. We were approached to represent our community. We sent out a message to say, send your emails. What has been your experience? We are going to be reading them in the Houses of Parliament. And we're like, okay, how did we get here? The letters that we received were so touching. I mean, we stood up, we read them. I know a few of the team were in tears. This was for Diane Abbott, who is an amazing MP representing London, Hackney, East London. Is she still? I'm so kind of disconnected. Is she still there?
Because you're home now.
Because
so
I'm home. I'm home now. So I'm like, what's happening in the UK?
You become disconnected from that place where you spent
Disconnected.
time, most of your life.
Time. No. Time, right? And so we just kind of ended up, we were a healthy balance of proactive and reactive.
Okay.
You know, people kind of turn to us a lot in terms of natural disasters, in raising. I mean, when we had the big earthquake in Haiti, this was even preceding the official coming together of Island Girls Rock. We did an amazing event called Love for Haiti, where we asked musicians to do a concert for free to raise money, and they said yes. Awesome. And we were able to rebuild schools in Haiti, working with a grassroots Haitian organization that were based in the UK at the time. And so when it came time for me to come home, people were really worried, like, but does that mean you're going to disappear from the diaspora? Are you just going to be focused on Nevis and St. Kitts? I'm like, absolutely not. Technology has moved on. We can do all the things online as well as in person. And so being home for the last 4 years, and I remember when I arrived, as soon as I got home, people were like, what are you doing? What are you going to do? I'm like, I'm resting. I'm going to rest for 3 months maybe. That has yet to happen. That has yet to happen. We have been pouring into community in Nevis and in St. Kitts, doing things as an organization, but also collaborating. We've collaborated a lot with Girls Illuminated. One of our biggest things is about women coming together and working collectively, because there's so much more power when we do that. We didn't come to take away from anyone. We came to add. We're not an extractive organization. We're an organization that consistently, all year long, pours into community, not just young people. We're intergenerational, because we don't believe that you stop needing support when you hit the official end of youth, which is, I mean, they keep on moving that, but apparently now it's 30, 35. That's
Well,
when,
wherever it is, I know I've long passed
no, well,
that. I stopped paying attention to that mark.
I'm way past it.
A while ago.
Many decades. And that's the whole point. But when do you stop needing support?
Right.
When do you stop needing community and people to lean into and people to pour into you? You don't. So it doesn't end with, okay, we're just about our girls. We're about our women. You know, and I'm still a girl. I'm a girl and a woman. And that's why also when people say, what about island women? I'm like, but I'm both. I love the whimsical girly side of myself. I love being a girl. I love playing. And yes, I'm also a woman. We can be both.
It's interesting because I, like many others in the story that you've just shared with us, saw Island Girls Rock, the T-shirts and the bags and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is cool, you know? And I never thought about it as relating to a particular generation.
Right.
Because I interpreted it as island women, island girls,
All of them.
you know, so I didn't, so it's interesting that that's some of the
Yeah.
feedback that you received.
Initially, it
Yeah.
definitely was.
And did you, so is this something then, this kind of inclination, I'll say, that you have for forming community around moments of empowerment for women, for girls, and so on, is this something that you'd say kind of showed up or emerged when you were a child, when you were in or is it something that just kind of came out through adulthood, or when did this start for you?
It's been me forever, Sarah, without being formalized. I have always innately felt pulled to rally for girls and women. And even as a child, growing up in the other place, my mom would say she always bringing somebody home. She always bringing somebody home to feed. Who this child know? Who this girl be? Who she be? Oh, okay. Mom, I've just brought home a friend. She didn't have anything to eat today.
Yes.
So can we bring her home for tea? Not waiting, but bringing
Yes.
the person home with me. And, you know, I think also I am a survivor of childhood sexual violence. And so I'm very protective of girls and women. And also I think because that has been part of my experience, part of my narrative, that I am drawn to being very protective and finding and creating safe spaces for girls and women to just be and to express themselves and to be nurtured in all the different ways that our amazing core team and members of our board help us to do and support us to do. So that is a big part of it. I love girls and women because of what my experience was. I know the dark side of existing as a girl or woman in this world. And so it is a big driving force, for sure.
And a very important part, I imagine, of any conversation, because for those who haven't had the experience, then there's a lot that would be missed in any cues that may present themselves for those who have.
100%.
So I'm sure that as our conversation goes, we will kind of get into a bit more of how we can all be a little bit more proficient in being more protective and being better advocates for our girls. And there's something that we'll learn, I'm sure, as we go along that can also apply to our boys, because they also
100%.
have similar realities to face. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and when we come back, Davinia, you're not off the hook. So it's going to be your turn. And just for our listeners to know that Davinia is with us for the first hour of the show, but then she has to run after that. So our phone lines are open at 466-0989 or 662-0989. If you're in the UK, you can call in at 033-344-0065. And if you're in Canada and the US, you can call in at 305-921-4619 or 718-285-6984. If you're joining us via any of our live stream platforms, you'll see the numbers at the bottom of the screen. So we're going to take a little break. We're going to hear from Davinia, and then we'll hear from Ayana. And I am telling you, their stories are equally intriguing, and there's a lot for us to learn today. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Found the Sound 98.9. Win FM.
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Better value, better price.
She said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, she said, drink a root boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, cause when we out and we active, living we life. So when we drink, root boy. So when we drink, root boy. Oh, Miss Lady, anyway you see we are we building up our vibes. So when we drink, root boy. So when we drink, root boy. Why?
Welcome back to Creative Voices. We are having a wonderful Friday so far. We have heard from Chantal about her story, her journey that led to Island Girls Rock. And we are going to hear now from Davinia, who's going to share with us her journey. She's also a part of the Island Girls Rock team, so we'll hear a little bit about that affiliation, that work. But also, as usual, we want to hear your story. We want to hear, what led you to where you are now. We want to hear about the type of work that you're engaged in, because you are another powerhouse of a woman who's doing some remarkable things. So share with us a little bit about your journey, please.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Hi, everyone. I suppose if we start with my connection to Island Girls Rock. So I've known Chantal from since we both lived in London, so a very long time now. And Chantal is a person that, and she'll laugh when I say this because she knows I say it all the time, you can't say no to Shani. She has such a magnetism about her. So, I always say to her, anything you're down for, count me in. So when she invited me to be on the Island Girls Rock board, I was like, well, Shani, it's a yes.
Yes.
I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know what capacity I will be working in. But I'm always going to be a supporter because I know that the work that Chantal does is always so purpose-led and heart-led. And that's so important for me at this phase of my life. And I say that, sounding like a granny, but I think it really is important, as somebody that is a transplant from the UK to St. Kitts, every move that I make, particularly with two young daughters in tow, is very intentional. And that includes the work that I do and the people with whom I choose to surround myself, including you, Sarah. Hence the reason why when I come to the bookshop, Sarah, or, I'll always be in a bit of a battered state, and just having a chat with Sarah completely revives me. There's just such beautiful vibes. It's a very similar feeling to what I have when I'm around Chantal.
Thank you.
Island Girls Rock, I think the mission and the ethos is so powerful and so important. As Chantal has very well articulated, there was really a gap, on a global basis, not just in the UK, but most notably in the UK, with regard to how Caribbean women were being represented. In the UK, one of the challenges that we experience is that we are pigeonholed into being hypersexualized in lots of how we are depicted, whether it's in film, whether it's in music. There is very much the danger of a single story. Chimamanda has talked about the single story, and I see it showing up in a number of different spheres, not least when it comes to, my background and career in finance. But certainly when we think of ourselves as Caribbean women, in the UK, small island women are just not part of the narrative unless it's in some sort of derogatory or derisive way. Or it's very sexualized, as I've said. And, there's a real emphasis on division, the breakdown of family structures, all of the things that divide us and none of the things that make us special, unique and wonderful, as a culture and as a people. And so the work that Chantal does, particularly around women, as someone that's grown up in the very classically matriarchal Caribbean family, I on both sides of my family, there are some real powerhouse women. The men are there as well. But, I always looked to, particularly as a young woman who was quite shy growing up, it was the women in my family that helped me to find my path, really, and to see what womanhood would look like, and how it's quite all right to choose your own path and not feel constrained. And I suppose that leads me on to, my journey into finance, as a woman in finance, a black woman in finance in the UK, and I always refer to myself as a black unicorn. And because of the love that was poured into me as a child, and the level of confidence that was poured into me as a child, growing up with a Jamaican dad, It's not for the faint of heart.
Both of you have Jamaican dads and Kitishan division moms.
Right.
All right.
It's not for the faint of heart, but one of the mega perks of having a Jamaican dad is that, you know, I grew up feeling like Supergirl. You know, there is nothing that I couldn't do. And so if you combine that with a powerhouse of a mother and a grandmother that cocooned me and made me feel so loved, and that anything that I might want to pursue, even if I failed, it was okay because I could always come back home. What that has meant, even for me now in my 40s, is that I'm unafraid to try new things, to experience new challenges, because I know that I have my support network. They're in the UK, they're in the US, they're here in St. Kitts, they're in Jamaica. You know, there are people around that want me to succeed. And so when I started, you know, thinking about university, thinking, you know, what do I want to do? And having this conversation with my gran, who was the first person I knew in the world to have a financial advisor. And you wouldn't think of, you know, Windrush generation, Caribbean woman. She moved to the UK in 1960. She was 22 years old. She already had 2 children. She left them and went to England. 2 weeks it took her on the boat, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And she arrived in the UK. And she built herself up brick by brick. She went on to have 3 more children. And she always worked. The house was always full. There was always a pot on the stove. Anybody was welcome, my uncle's friends, my mum's friends. But she had a financial advisor. And typically you would associate people with financial advisors as high net worths, because you think, well, you must have money to need financial advice.
Right.
But I distinctly remember growing up, and I've written a blog about this, because my gran is called Rita and her financial advisor was called Peter.
Rita. That's your next book. Yeah.
So I should dedicate my next book to Peter and Rita, because they honestly, the contribution they've made to my outlook is just so significant. But Peter would come to the house, I would say, once a month on a Friday evening. He would have dinner with the family, very middle-class white man, complete worlds apart from a background perspective. But he and my grandma got on like a house on fire, and he advised her on her investments, on her insurance, on her will. There is nobody that is better invested than my gran. And so growing up, she would say to me, Dav, just read that letter for me. And she would talk through her various investments with me and say, you know, I've got shares here. Do you think I should buy some more shares? Do you think I should sell them? I'd like to take the whole family on a holiday, so I've sold those shares. She was just brilliant. There is no one in my family, you know, any of my cousins that could say they haven't benefited from grandma's generosity. We've all been on holiday with her as a result of this generosity. When I bought my first flat, my gran was there buying my furniture. When I was moving to St. Kitts, she was there helping me and the girls move to St. Kitts. When I set up my business, she was the first angel investor. I remember her saying, you know, here's some money. She would give me this money in an envelope. And she said, well, here's some money, you know, I want to be part of the business. And I thought she meant, because my business, Raincheck, is really about financial education and financial advice for women. And we'll talk about why that's important. But when she gave me the envelope, I thought she was saying, I need you to invest this money for me. And I said, oh, well, we need to have a chat about, you know, I don't just invest it, Gran, you've got to tell me what you'd like to do. And she said, no, I'm investing in the business.
Yes.
So when we think sometimes, I think we can assume that certain industries, careers, or certain knowledge is associated with a particular gender, or it's associated with people from a certain socioeconomic group. But my grandma is a venture capitalist. She's a private equity expert,
Yes, she is.
right?
Yeah.
And so I always come back to that example, because I think that is the making of me. So when I decided, you know, I really would like to work in finance, and when I had that conversation with my dad, he was like, okay, well, why didn't you have a chat with my accountant? And I quite quickly realised accountancy was not for me. I didn't want to be constrained, but I was like, but I still want to work in finance. And then I had exposure to the investment management roles, and I said, this is perfect, because effectively I have an opportunity to help people build on the wealth that they have. And I joined this, you know, brilliant firm, global firm, at the age of 22. And I remember thinking, and of course, you know, as I say, black unicorn, I would walk onto the trading floor. I was often the only woman. I was certainly the only black person. And there is something about reframing your experience to uplift yourself rather than to shrink yourself. And again, this is where my dad's energy comes in, because I would walk into those rooms, and I had a brilliant mentor in the firm that I worked for, a very old Etonian white man, who said, you know, show up as your vibrant self, don't shrink. And I thought, gosh, you're just like my dad. So I never felt that I was in any way out of place. Of course, you notice that you're the only one of anything in any situation, but I use that to my advantage.
Yes.
And I realised that in having conversations with when I would mentor young women in schools, and they would say, oh, miss, you know, I'd like to do this, but there's no one else like me, no one that's come from my background. I'm the first person in my family to go to university, or I went to do that internship and I felt really uncomfortable. I wasn't wearing the right clothes or shoes or whatever. And I would always say to them, but your difference is your strength. It's not a weakness. And it made me think, gosh, if these young women think this, I wonder how many women are my age and nobody has ever told them the reverse, and now they're stuck.
Yeah.
But now they're older and they think it's too late to change. Hence why the work Island Girls Rock does, you know, from an intergenerational standpoint, is so critically important, because I think we assume women come as the complete package. Meanwhile, we're going home and journaling and writing down all of the things, which is just me. No, all of the things that have happened and the insecurities that we have. So, fast forward, you know, I started to, you know, I love the world of finance. I never fell out of love with finance. I still love it to this day. But I realised, gosh, there's a big gap here, because I'm surrounded by, in my personal network and my professional network, so many amazing women that are smart, they're well educated, and whether it's formal education or street education, work education, but they've got money to invest, or they haven't got money to invest and they're heavily indebted, but they don't know what to do. And when they go and see financial advisors, they are hearing things like, and these are true stories, will your husband be joining us for the meeting? Or they'll say, they might go to interviews and they'll be asked in the interview, when do you plan to get married? Because, you know, we don't want a situation where you will get married, because if you get married, you're going to have a baby. And then if you have a baby, we're going to have a gap and we can't afford for you to go on maternity leave. I'd have women on maternity leave worried about not having a job to return to. And many of my clients at Raincheck are women that were made redundant during maternity leave, some legally, some illegally. So many terrible experiences. Now, of course, there are some really positive stories as well, but what I realised is there's a real gap here, because even in my professional work through the firm, I wasn't seeing very many women from a high net worth perspective coming through the doors, and I'm like, but women have money. My gran has money. So what that means is we are just not providing the service that meets women where they are, and we're making them feel uncomfortable. So there is an opportunity here, and that's how Raincheck was born. And Raincheck really exists, as I say, to help women take control of their financial futures, but even more importantly, to live life entirely on their own terms. And that's important because it's the entirely on their own terms, which is inspired by my gran. That's the piece where I think, gosh, what would Gran have done? Gran has done some amazing things. Imagine, you know, this, you know, an older woman. She's the first person I knew to be a solo traveller, even. I remember her going to Ibiza when I was about 16.
What?
Wow.
She went to Ibiza, she was like, I need a break. And she would just go.
I love it.
And solo travel is something I've only been introduced to very recently when I was playing mass with the Lost Tribe, and I'm seeing people in the group chat saying I'm a solo reveler. So I was like, what? You know, people do this by themselves. And, you know, so this is well in my 40s. So Gran was way ahead of the curve.
Ahead. And with no social media, just... that's what I want to do. And so her sons, my uncles, would be like, oh, you can't go by yourself. And she's like, why not? I'm going. So she went to Ibiza, she went to Turkey, she had a whale of a time. On occasion, I would join her, but she was perfectly happy with her own company.
Yes.
So so she really was the inspiration for living life entirely on your own terms, because what that means is women shouldn't feel constrained. We shouldn't feel that we have to follow a traditional path, have children if you want, don't have children, get married or not, live abroad or not, but never feel that you are trapped in any one particular situation.
Yeah, definitely. I've noticed that in both of your stories so far, you have shared with us that you've had quite a lot of support. You know, you've shared stories of your family, and it's so important, and I imagine that that's part of what the work of Island Girls Rock entails, is creating that support system, because not everybody has that. And I recall when I was, you know, as our listeners would know, I recently had a cancer journey, and I had a lot of support. You know, sometimes I say, if I ever thought I wasn't loved, which I never felt, but if I ever thought that, I could definitely never feel that after that journey, because I had so much love, so much support. It was, you know, even overwhelming at times. And in conversation with my doctor, she asked me if I would be willing to, after I've gone through the experience, support, if necessary, any other women going through this experience, because some of them go through it alone. And I just sat with that for a moment because I couldn't fathom that experience without support. So there are a lot of things that you go through in life where, your ability to thrive, to survive it, to emerge from it, really requires that type of support system. So, Davinia, you shared, when you went into those rooms, you took your father with you, like his courage came with you, and your grand's lessons came with you, and Chantal, you had that safe space that you could bring your friends to with your mom, So I think it's really beautiful, and it appears to me to be so organic, and I've been doing a lot of reading on different cultures' approach to purpose-driven work, and how when you align yourself with it, you just kind of step into it organically, and that appears to be what has happened in your case. Chantal, especially when you shared how, you had this idea and you put it in the back of your mind, but then the universe started making it happen while it was in the back of your mind. It's like, no, bring it to the front. We're doing it now. And then all of a sudden you found yourself sort of immersed in the actual work, maybe before you even strategized properly to launch the work.
I'm saying, even now, I don't feel that we have officially launched because we're all so consumed with doing the work. And
which
like you very much said, it's been very organic. But with the board, our amazing board that we've recently put in place, we're hoping the strategy will soon come.
All right. Wonderful. So we're going to take a little break. And after the break, we are going to hear from Ayana, who is going to share her story with us, which is also very inspiring. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back after a brief word from our very special sponsors.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
What are you doing?
She said, drink a rude boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, she said, drink a rude boy, I will do the work. You don't have to wind up yourself. You don't have to wind up yourself. Oh, cause when we out and we active, living we life. So when we drink, we be drinking. Rude boy. So when we drink, we be drinking. Rude boy. Oh, Miss Lady, anyway you see we are we building up our vibes. So when we drink, we be drinking. Rude boy. So when we drink, we be drinking. Rude boy. Why?
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Tune in to Creative Voices, the ultimate radio call-in program where innovation meets inspiration. Join me, Dr. Sarah Owen, as I welcome brilliant Caribbean creatives and innovators for engaging sessions that promise to spark your creativity. Don't miss this unique opportunity to interact with our guests, ask your burning questions, and gain insights that could elevate your own creative endeavors. Tune in every other Friday from 10 a.m. to midday. Get inspired. Let your voice be heard. Mark your calendars and prepare to embark on a journey of creativity and innovation with Creative Voices.
Welcome back to Creative Voices. Unfortunately, our guest Davinia has to run off to do more important, or I don't mean more important work, I mean additional important work, not work that is more important than this.
Never.
So work that is additional to this is what I intend when I say more. So since you won't be here at the end of the program, we do like to close out with words of advice, and we'll ask you to just share with us anything that you'd like our listeners to take away from our program this morning as you leave for your next engagement.
I think, and we were just having a chat about this in the break, so based on everything that I've shared, and for anybody listening and feeling inspired by my story of Peter and Rita, it really is be like Rita. Be like Rita, my grandmother, who is completely unafraid, and even if she is afraid, she powers through regardless. She is such a wonderful, inspirational woman, the eldest of 12 children and mother of 5, grandmother of a gazillion. And she just embodies what it means to be a woman, defining for herself, despite what society might want to pigeonhole you into, that it is important for us to show up as our full and vibrant selves and to do so unapologetically. And that really, you know, in terms of the work that we're doing at Island Girls Rock, really resonates. So be like Rita, we love her.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And Rita is from
St.
Kitts. All right.
The village.
So, there you go. She's from the village.
Yes.
St. Kitts. So that is a wonderful note to leave us with. Thank you very much, Davinia, for joining us today. We will miss you while you're gone, but I am sure the opportunity will arise again for you to come and join us at Creative Voices. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. So, my dear friend to my left, you are not off the hook, so we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from Ayana, and Ayana is going to tell us everything about her journey, which we are very keen to hear. So a brief break, don't go too far. In fact, don't go anywhere. Just stay right there. We'll be right back.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
More than 42 million cars from 19 different car companies are being recalled for faulty airbag inflators. Repairs are fast, easy, and free. The problem isn't with the airbag, it's with the airbag inflator. Because the inflator can rupture, shooting shrapnel through the airbag, which can cause serious injury or even death. Don't risk it, fix it.
Please contact TDC Automotive Division to find out if your Toyota vehicle is affected by the Takata airbag recall. Visit or call us at 465-2511 in St. Kitts or 469-5430 in Nevis.
Tune in to Creative Voices, the ultimate radio call-in program where innovation meets inspiration. Join me, Dr. Sarah Owen, as I welcome brilliant Caribbean creatives and innovators for engaging sessions that promise to spark your creativity. Don't miss this unique opportunity to interact with our guests, ask your burning questions, and gain insights that could elevate your own creative endeavors. Tune in every other Friday from 10 a.m. to midday. Get inspired. Let your voice be heard. Mark your calendars and prepare to embark on a journey of creativity and innovation with Creative Voices.
When you need better
But I relocated to Nevis from Guyana 2 years ago. So I got invited to the Beachnik, the Island Girls Rock Beachnik, and that was my first interaction with, like, my full interaction with Island Girls Rock, apart from meeting Chantal. And it just felt like such a warm hug. And having moved a whole country by myself, solo, like, I'm like Auntie Rita. I'm just out there doing things. So having moved, solo by myself, it just felt really good to have this community to connect with, and a group of women whose whole, dedication was, sisterhood and making other women and girls feel seen and heard. So that's how I became connected to Island Girls Rock, and I'm now supporting Chantal because I believe in Chantal's vision, and I believe in the goodness, the essential goodness of this work. In my own personal journey, I'm a lawyer by profession. I've been in practice for the last 20 years. And so for me, my journey into law, like Davinia said, I often felt like a black unicorn. I grew up as a girl in the country. My parents are not wealthy, so I don't, by any standards, don't fit the mold of the traditional person who would be, moving into law. I'm the first generation for university. I don't come from a legal family. But the woman that inspired me to do this, I was in sixth form college, and I had this brilliant lecturer who was also a magistrate at the time. And she was just always well-dressed, so poised, spoke so eloquently, and she taught us so passionately, and she spoke so passionately about the law. I said, I feel in my heart that this is what I want to do. And I've always had a passion for helping others, and a gift for the gab, I've been told. Words have always been my thing.
It's a talent. I don't know why they make us feel like it's a bad thing when they're in school.
The constant thing I would hear in primary school was, "Oh, you talk too much." And fast forward 20 years later, like I said, for the last 20 years, and work that I've been able to do. Also being able to see women's work is really important to me, because I've also been able to witness how we're often disregarded, how often we're taken advantage of, and the need for having someone to empower you to speak up for yourself, but also to let you be seen and heard. And that's after I'm in my 40s now, and after 2 decades of doing this, that's the perspective that I come to it from, both personally and professionally. Like I've had in my own personal journey times that I felt not seen and not heard. And I always want in my life to have the women and the girls around me feel like they are seen and heard. So that's what Island Girls Rock did for me. When I came to Nevis, not knowing a soul, people would say to me, you know anybody here? No. You have family here? No.
Brave and bold, just like Miss Rita.
Like Miss Rita, brave and bold. I had actually first come to Nevis in 2007. I was 2 years out of law school. I'd done all the brilliant academic things. I'd graduated, as the best Guyanese law student, all that good stuff. And I got headhunted to come to Nevis. I had never heard about Nevis before. And I started off as Crown Counsel with the legal department, and stayed on contract for a year, and then went back home. But I said, I have to find a way back, because I love this little island so much. So when I started thinking about it, I said, after all of the very hard work of being a lawyer and the burnout and all of that comes with that, I said, I think it's time for a slower pace, and I'm going to do this version of my life even more intentionally. And this chapter of my life is going to be for me. Where do I want to go where the vibe matches that vibe? Just slowing down and being even more soulful. And of all the places in the world I've had the good fortune to travel to, Nevis, of course, came right back on the top of the list. And I like to say I have a personal connection. I don't know what anybody else has, but I feel like the Nevis was especially made for me, because my birthday is 1710. and the coordinates match 1710.
Okay, there you go.
So I like to tell people, I was like, Nevis is like literally my island. So that's how, so Nevis is now home for me. And because Nevis is home, making a contribution to the place I now call home is really important to me. So that is how my service to Island Girls Rock also fits. I really want to be able to give back and contribute in the place and to the place that I'm calling home. And like I said, for me, a big part of what Chantal was sharing as she was sharing her own story is, her saying it as well. This idea of women just having a safe space to be seen and heard. We've all grown up with the saying, I'm sure lots of us, if not all of us, have been told at different times or heard it being said, that children must be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we forget that we then take that version from childhood into adulthood, mm-hmm. to the authorities, the so-called authorities in our lives. Mm-hmm. And that's how we then interact from that place of, I am not to be seen, I'm not to be heard. And then there's so many things around us that diminish us, mm-hmm. that make us feel less than, that make us feel disregarded. So like I said, a big part of my clarity now in this season of my life is recognizing that I've been given a voice, mm-hmm. and I've been given the gift of words for a reason. And the best thing I can do before I walk out this space and time is to be able to use my voice to help women, like I said, be seen and be heard, and to use the gifts that they have, use their own voice to advocate for themselves. And that when they can't do that, to also be the voice that says, no, this is actually what needs to be done, or this is what actually needs to be said. And in my own journey, I've had the very good fortune of being given some really good opportunities to be of service. I've served in 2 very senior government roles in Guyana. And those opportunities, while I've run my own practice, so I've been able to see it from both sides. Mm-hmm. I've been able to see clients day to day and talk to women about the real challenges they're having around custody issues, family issues. But I've also, when I served as state solicitor in my country, I was able to also see it from a policy perspective, to really see it from a high level, and for me, like I said, it made those experiences in terms of my work made my commitment and my passion even more real for what, for where I am now. I grew up in a single parent home. So I grew up, with my mother being the one. Yes, my dad, was around, but seeing, my mother do all the things. And also with seeing her take care of my grandmother. So I'm also coming to this from a place of witnessing the people around me and the community around me not always being given what they're deserved, and in many instances being harmed simply because, like I said, they didn't have someone to stand up and speak up, or they didn't have the tools even, or the information even to say, no, this is what we actually need. This is what we actually want. So for me, this is both, being in Nevis now at this time in my life is both personal. It's a time for me to just rest, curate my energy. But like I said, it's also a space for me to kind of reflect and also figure out all the ways, like I said, that I can continue to use my voice to make sure that this notion that we have of, we must be seen and not heard, that we kind of dismantle that and use our voices to advocate for ourselves. I've been an advocate for a long time, and I think that's been a big part of my personhood now, to just say, speak up, let your voice be heard. If it hurts, say so, and use your voice and use it in a way that honors you. So, yeah.
Beautiful. I love what you said about making a contribution to the place you call home being important to you. I think that is a wonderful mantra that, if we all had that, then the world would be so wonderful, because everywhere we went, we would be looking at how we can contribute, as opposed to perhaps looking at how the place can contribute to us. Yeah. But we've had social and creative entrepreneurial expertise. We've had financial expertise. Now we've had policy and legal expertise. I believe that we have Joy joining us virtually as well.
Yes.
So after our next break, we are going to be able to come back and hear a bit in terms of educational expertise as well, because we know that this is a big part of what Joy's life work has been thus far, among many other things. But I just want to express my gratitude to each of you so far for sharing your stories with us, because each story had a little moment of vulnerability within it as well. And it is very empowering when you hear people's stories that have moments that could make you shrink, but instead it makes you grow, and you step into a power as opposed to feeling lost if power is taken away. So that is really something that I think is very inspiring, and I hope has been quite inspiring to our listeners as well. I will say, Ayanna, that if you listen, I don't know if you've heard the song that won the Junior Calypso crown this year in St. Kitts and Nevis by Corinne Anaya Clark, because she is tackling that in a very bold way of that foolishness, as her song is suggesting, of being seen and not heard. So she's taking us adults to task on that, and the future, I think, is quite bright as it relates to that. So we're going to transition to our second hour. We have already transitioned to our second hour, if you can believe it. And we have so much more to talk about, right?
I feel like we're just
scratching the surface.
Yes.
So we have some things, people, that we are going to talk about as we continue into our second hour. And we will, hopefully, when we come back, we will be able to hear from Joy as well. So we have our second hour sponsors on board with us, and we are very happy to welcome the wonderful people from Horsfords. And try Horsfords first is what they tell us to do. So it's Friday. Try Horsfords first. You can go. I have some things I need to get from Horsfords today, so I am going there this afternoon. Okay. But, Horsfords, they feed us, with Value Mart. They provide vehicles for us. They give us hardware. They provide opportunity for us to get hardware and so on. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to shop with the good people at Horsfords. We also have in this hour Bougainvillea Books and Gifts, a home of storytelling right here in St. Kitts. So these are our two sponsors for the second hour. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. This is another exciting episode of Creative Voices. I'm your host, Sarah. It has been wonderful so far. Don't go too far. We'll be back after this break.
All right.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.
Campari. Red Passion. Embrace the mix.
Campari, Red Passion. Full action, this is Red Passion. Embrace the mix. Add Campari, make it turn and twist. Add your chaser in your drink. Campari, Red Passion, make the nicest mix. Campari.
Campari Red Passion. Embrace the mix. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
It's in the feeling in our we talk. It's in the meaning in our spot. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are. 'Cause the rhythm of life keeps bumping. Together going strong. No matter what, we keep things flowing. Before we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky. Celebrating. Come let your rhythm flow.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Nevis Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Nevis Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Tune in to Creative Voices, the ultimate radio call-in program where innovation meets inspiration. Join me, Dr. Sarah Owen, as I welcome brilliant Caribbean creatives and innovators for engaging sessions that promise to spark your creativity. Don't miss this unique opportunity to interact with our guests, ask your burning questions, and gain insights that could elevate your own creative endeavors. Tune in every other Friday from 10 a.m. to midday. Get inspired. Let your voice be heard. Mark your calendars and prepare to embark on a journey of creativity and innovation with Creative Voices.
Welcome to Bougainvillea Books and Gifts, where every visit is a journey through time and imagination. Step into a world of literary wonders at our boutique bookstore, where every book tells a story and every corner holds a treasure waiting to be discovered. Immerse yourself in the enchanting aromas of our scented candles, perfect for creating a cozy atmosphere in any space. Explore our exquisite handcrafted jewelry. Whether you're searching for the perfect gift for that special someone or simply indulging in a little self-care, Bougainvillea Books and Gifts has something for everyone.
Okay.
Welcome back to Creative Voices. You are tuned in live and direct to Creative Voices episode 22. We have the wonderful women of Island Girls Rock here with us. I say some of the wonderful women because this is a group that has been organically growing over 4 years in Nevis and 10 years prior in the UK. So this is the wonderful work of Chantal Miller. I always go to call you by your middle name because I think on social media that's somewhere along the line.
I love my middle name. So, it's fine.
It's Olivia, right?
Yes, it's
and
Olivia.
Then I decided at one point that you were called Chantal Olivia. So I was like, oh, do you all know this lady Chantal Olivia? And they're like,
no.
So I was like, oh. So I'm deprogramming now
It's
from
fine.
my fictitious naming, you know. So as we jump ahead, and we're still awaiting some technical connections for Joy to join us from Nevis. And I want to jump into some of the issues that you all work on as it relates to issues facing young Caribbean women. So for our listeners who may not be familiar, what would you include? I mean, what have you seen in your work as those issues that are important? You know, each of you, well, Davinia has had to leave, unfortunately, but each of you have different experiences,
Right.
and you approach this advocacy work through a slightly different lens, which I think is another beautiful thing about an organization
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
So for those of us who are not engaged in this, or maybe we are, but we are not formally engaged in this type of
Yes.
advocacy work, but what would you say, especially through a St. Kitts Nevis lens, are some of the primary issues emerging and in need of advocacy for our girls and women?
I think for me, a good starting point is for me to lay the foundation almost and say what the 6 pillars of Island Girls Rock actually are.
Okay.
We approach things very holistically. As for us, one thing connects to the other, to the other, to the other. So it's not a standalone focus on one thing or the next. So our 6 pillars are wellness, creativity, leadership, joy, sustainability, and the last one, which I always forget, I believe it's, community service.
Yes.
Community service.
Community
We're a
service.
community that also serves the community, right? So we have those 6 pillars, and it's a really integrative and holistic approach to how we show up in support of community. And at any given time, because we run programs all year long, so it's not that we're an organization that focuses just on covering the holidays, like the Easter break, it's summertime, and that is within itself wonderful and a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But we're also here all the time, 24/7.
So you're not just on the camp circuit, you're
No,
on the...
we're a program. We're programming, we're workshops, we're initiatives. There's always something going on with Island Girls Rock. And at any given time, sometimes one thing takes precedence over the next, right? So for the last, I would say, maybe the year before, we were really focused on our mentorship program, which is called Bloom Where You're Planted. And within that program, we have different what we like to call hubs. So we have the creative hubs, the STEM hub, the, you know, coming very soon, the legal hub, you know?
Right.
And so we have girls and women who really gravitate toward those things or are practicing those things and need support in growing, evolving, visioning. We like to have what we call imagination stations, right? So what are you imagining for yourself with this life? And so we were very fortunate to win our first grant in 2024.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, first time ever in how many years?
So necessary.
Let me tell you, okay? Where we won a grant from the Commonwealth Creative Foundation, and we were able to, I basically designed a 3-month artist development program where we had girls and women sign up who were then mentored by an amazing artist from the Bahamas, Felice Roberts, who came in because we had money to fly her in, you know, to put her up, to feed her, and to develop their artistic lens, whatever that, you know, whatever medium they were working in. And so we had that program. So we were feeling like, okay, we won our first grant. That means we're going to win more.
Yes.
Yeah, we're just going to keep
Of
on
course,
applying.
naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah.
There we go. The ball is now
You're
rolling.
in now, you're in.
We're in this sphere. No. That is not what happened. But we still have to show up, right? And so we find ways. And we have really wonderful members of our extended community who understand the importance of the work that we're doing and who will donate and who will contribute. But Sarah, as you know, this type of work, it's never enough. You know, there have been times where, and many times, and the board is now being very strict with me, where I have used my personal savings and money because the priority is the girls and women and showing up for them. And we have partnerships with people like Layamiga Women's Health, who are based in the UK but who serve St. Kitts and Nevis in the mental health and mental well-being capacity. So any girl or woman that signs up to become a member of Island Girls Rock, they receive free 12 months therapy.
Wow.
Okay? Straight off the bat. First thing. And so, like I said, at various times, different things take precedence. And although we still pour into our girls creatively and in other ways, over the last, I want to say 6 months, what we've realized, you know, there's been a higher reporting incidence of girls going missing, of women going missing, of girls and women needing help after surviving or journeying through the surviving of very horrific, whether it's DV, domestic violence, or SV, sexual violence. And so the need for us to support in those ways has come to the forefront. And yes, we have Layamiga Women's Health to support us with the emotional and mental side of that. But also, you know, we need help on the physical because there's physical violence. And there are times when we have had to personally pay for girls to have medical treatments, etc. And so we're immersed in all this work, Sarah, and we realize this notice, this girl is missing, this girl is missing. But the narrative that immediately comes up, oh, she must be there with some man.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this question. If she is with a man, and this is a child, why are we assigning blame to a young girl that's missing if she's with a grown man? If that's your assumption, shouldn't your jargon, shouldn't your, you know, displeasure be focused on the person who has lured, because that is what has happened, this girl, this young woman, away from her home, away from her safety, right? And so this became very alarming to us, that this was a running narrative. Oh, they gonna find her. Oh, she with this person. Oh, she with, no. And what we began to realize is that there doesn't seem to be a true understanding of grooming and what that is.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting that thinking about something that you said also, Ayana, in terms of being an advocate for those young women, those girls who need an advocate. I think sometimes people don't even realize that they need an advocate because we've normalized so many things that they're not even aware that they're in a vulnerable position or they have been silenced, or they may even be unaware that the situation that they're in is abusive
Is
because it
abusive.
is something that they have witnessed, throughout generations
Yes.
of their family. But after, I think it was maybe an interaction that I'd had with you or with Taitu. Shout out to Taitu if she's listening.
Hey, Taitu.
But I was thinking about how the other thing that may happen as well. Of course, this is just an opinion that I've formed, having not done any work in this field myself, but that we're quick to call it out you might be watching a Netflix series or you might be watching, that's a dirty man, boy. You see how he lure these girls and how, you're watching some documentary, some catfishing something, and you're like, nasty man. But then when it's within your own context, the first thing, as you say, that generally happens, and this is over generations, is that the girl is promiscuous or, and you even hear people saying that when they find I hope they bang her or something like that, so the girl is punished. But you very seldom hear anything about who did she go by, like how did she, get there, or, any of those kinds of conversations. They tend to only come up in a case, in my opinion, again, where there's an exceedingly tragic end.
Yes.
So it's only when the end is completely tragic that the narrative shifts.
It shifts.
So then, that places us all, if we really reflect on the role that we play, because we're all kind of culpable, if that's the right word, but we all play a role if we're part of that narrative. We have to really address and reflect on even just yesterday I was having a conversation with my children, and I really had to pause for a minute because they were telling me about somebody who is a grown person, that they were saying some of the things, because sometimes it's innocuous, right? Sometimes it's not so overt. So there was something that somebody was saying and they said, that's not appropriate or whatever. And I started to say, maybe that's not what they meant. Maybe they meant something else. Right. And they said to me, they were like, Mommy, stop it. Stop trying to rationalize that. Stop trying to apologize for that. Stop trying to find a way that. And I never thought of myself as an apologizer for that type of behavior, but they called me out in the moment of doing it because I just, sometimes you don't want to face the ugliness of the thing.
Yes.
And we're a very small society. So facing it is not like facing it somewhere overseas where you may never have to encounter the person again. You're like, okay, if I face this, then, I really have to adjust my perspective as it relates to a particular person or whatever the case may be. So I imagine that complicates your work a bit.
It does.
But I certainly, I really am happy for this conversation because it is an important one. It's one that, we've been having over generations, but we still haven't seen the dial shift in the way that it needs to.
Yes.
So that is, so that you would say now in 2026, you're finding that this is emerging as some of the priority work in which Island Girls Rock is engaged?
Absolutely. And it's not that everything falls along the wayside, everything else falls along the wayside, but it's definitely something which has more urgency than the others. And so, we sat with ourselves, we had a think tank, because this is work that requires nuance, it requires compassion, empathy, policy making, all of the things. And so we had to have a think tank in how we can best show up in support, and not just to provide an emotional and mental safe space, but actual physical safe space. And also, in referencing Joy, the education. Yeah. How do we educate? And when we speak of education, we don't speak of it in just a scholastic manner. So it's not just about in a school setting. It's educating community. How do we educate our elders? How do we educate our boys, our men, our girls to recognize when, as your children pointed out, that is inappropriate. That has made me feel uncomfortable. Right. How do we advocate? How do we teach them to advocate and speak up for themselves? No, that made me feel uncomfortable. No, I will not be going with you. No, I do not need you to top up my phone, right? Because this is how it begins. Oh, do you need help with that? Oh, or teaching people to recognize how you may be perceived as being in a vulnerable situation because you may be in a one-parent, single-parent home. And so that person may zone in on that because you're in a one-parent home, because they see a vulnerability. So teaching people how to recognize if someone is being genuine. Like, how do we differentiate between someone being genuine and really actually wanting to help and support without anything in return, without any compromising.
So,
you know?
so that it's not transactional.
It is not transactional.
And I think, and Anna, maybe you can share with us a bit about your policy and legal experience as well, because I wonder if there are some instances, because we're speaking of this with a focus at present on the girls and what we can do to better protect them, to give them the tools so that we can enable them to sort of advocate for themselves. But I imagine there are also circumstances that you may see where the community would, again, coming to that concept earlier raised about not necessarily being able to detect when you're in a vulnerable position because of the normalizing of the transactional nature of some of these things. So within certain communities, families, whatever the case may be, they may be surrounded by elders, for example, who think that, you know, this is okay. You're at a particular age. So when I thought of that when you made reference to the top up or the phone or something. So this transactional nature where, you know, you hear it all the time, you know, in almost in a comedic way when music festival is coming up. Because, you know, this is how a lot of people make jokes about how, you know, women are going to get their tickets and their hairdo and their, you know, so I don't know where this comes in, you know, in terms of the vulnerabilities that we're speaking to, but it really, I think, complicates the entire matter, I would imagine.
It's complex, and like Chantal said, it's nuanced. And I want the listeners to recognize that two things are important. Like, we need, I feel not just in St. Kitts and Nevis, but all across the region, we need better enforcement of our laws. So laws around, you know, sexual violence and the penalties for that. So we need strong enforcement. First of all, we need the laws to be in place, and where there are gaps for them to be filled. That's number one. We also need them to be enforced at the level of, for example, the police. When you go to make a report, you don't want you don't want the police officer who's there to diminish it and say, no, well, as Chantal was saying, oh, well, maybe she not really missing, you know, she gone with somebody. And I think that that emphasized the importance of while we may have the laws generally and we may have this will to want to protect women and girls, it's equally important for us to do the attitude shift. Because I always say, you know, as a lawyer who's been in practice now for a significantly long time, the laws mainly are words on paper. What really makes a difference is our own heart attitude, our own, you know, connection to these issues. So the two things need to happen at the same time. I think we need stronger laws. We need more enforcement so that people can see that actually this is being taken seriously. So if a 30-year-old man is found with a 13-year-old girl, child, 13-year-old child, there needs to be, it needs to be visible that the laws around statutory rape and all of that, and, you know, sexual harassment, because that's a whole nother kettle of fish. People need to, the community, the society needs to understand and see in a visible way that these laws are being enforced. That it won't just be somebody calling their friend at the police station and going, man, you know, he been talking to the girl, or no, man, it, you know, is a business person, or he knows somebody, and it going under the carpet. And that is why I said it now comes back to our own cultural attitude that we have around these issues, because we can have the best laws on paper. I've seen that from my experience in Guyana. You know, we've had a Domestic Violence Act since 1996. You know, we've made some changes recently. So we have had, you know, we've always ticked the box in terms of having the laws in place. What really does the damage, like I said, is these cultural attitudes we have around not prioritizing the safety of our women and girls. And for me, I feel like in St. Kitts and Nevis, since this is home for me, I know people always talk about, you know, how challenging it is. as a small society, you know, maybe that's the reason, because the society is so small, so you can't, you know, as you were saying earlier, you know, it's not like you could divorce yourself or not see the person. But I would like to challenge us to say that is the reason for us to speak up. 12,000 people on Nevis, 55,000 people total on St. Kitts, if we, you know, if we were to believe the stats. And I would think the smallness in size is the reason for us to be vigilant, for us to be even more caring, for us to be even more compassionate, because Guyana, by comparison, is close to, well, we're getting up to 1 million people now. It's easy for somebody to disappear into the interior if they do something wrong. That is not the case for us. We're going to see them at Rams, we're going to see them at Horsfords, we can see them down the street, and I want to challenge us. The laws are important. As a lawyer, I will always advocate for that. But I think even more importantly is for us to shift our individual personal attitudes and say the safety of our people, because it will include our boys as well. The safety of our people is number one. And what are the ways when it comes to, we're talking now specifically about, you know, sexual violence and protection of women and girls. We have to shift our own personal attitudes. The same way you're able to say, you know, call yourself to account and be accountable and say, yeah, you know, I didn't recognize that, you know, that I'm doing this. Thank you. And I think that is where each of us, if we're really going to shift the needle, we each have to take personal responsibility. That when we see young girls, when we see women around us that are not in safe situations, that we are saying, no, their personal safety is as important to me as my cousin, my sister, my you know, my auntie. I feel that that is the personal connection we need to make. Otherwise, we can write all the laws we want to. If the people don't have that connection, that this is a priority and it's important, then the enforcement will go to nothing.
That's very, you know, there's so much that's coming to mind as I listen to both of you speak, because I love Carnival, and, you know, some of the things that my daughter shares with me of her experience. It's a little bit shocking because I play mass and everything, but I'm 48 now, so nobody troubling me. You know what I mean? But the things that she experiences, of course, a lot has changed, and there's a lot of debate as it relates to, you know, the costumes and that type of thing. But I'm parking that and putting that aside.
That's
but
a whole other conversation.
Yeah, a lot of what they experience with men actually just physically touching them in private spaces, on the street, and they you know, you feel a little bit helpless because you're not sure what can you, because again, maybe it's a normalizing, maybe it's, you know, so it seems as though some men feel that they are entitled to do this, and this is okay. And if you're in the mass, if you're in the feds, if you're on wherever you are, that, you know, they think that this is appropriate. And Chantal, I shared with you a video recently that I'd seen on social media where a woman, as you know, they often do, come up to perform with a soca artist. Great. So if you're, you know, whatever you're wearing, you have chosen to wear that, you know, that in my opinion, that's for you. But in this particular instance, the lady was wearing a skirt, and the artist, while she was performing for the crowd, dancing and so on, he started to like lift her skirt. So if she chooses to lift her skirt, to me, that's very different from if he, as part of the excitement of the moment, and it's almost like you're watching it and you're thinking, well, this don't look like it's right. This seems very wrong. But then at the same time, it seems to fit with everything that's occurring. So, you know, there's a lot of conversation that we still need to have as things evolve, as it relates to protecting our young women, because I'm seeing a shift in more overt behavior, especially as it relates to physical contact than the odd seeps in and the you know, like the verbal stuff. But it seems to be transitioning now, and there's what I would call a different level of vulgarity in the types of things the young people are reporting to me. The young women especially are told to them, but I know the young men have their own experiences that are different. You know, every generation is different, and I think that that's something we have to take into account as well. While we have to look at these issues as they affect girls, women of all ages, because it are making this second hour of Creative Voices possible. And when we come back, we're gonna discuss maybe some signs that parents, teachers, can look out for, if that's something that you'd be able to share with us. Also, some of the ways in which we may be able to break taboos and open dialogue.
Yes.
These things I think may be useful to the discussion, because we always want to look at not just identifying the problems, but as we have been doing throughout the conversation, looking at how we can be engaged in activities that help to protect and to solve the problem as well. So we'll be right back after a lovely word from our wonderful sponsors. So please stay tuned. Don't go too far. This is Creative Voices.
Found the sound. 98.9 WIN-FM.
Campari. Red passion. Embrace the mix.
Campari red passion, full action, this is red passion. Embrace the mix, add Campari, make it turn and twist. Add your chaser in your drink. Campari red passion, make the nicest mix. Campari.
Campari Red Passion. Embrace the mix. Must be 18 years or older to drink. Drink responsibly.
Welcome to Bougainvillea Books and Gifts, where every visit is a journey through time and imagination. Step into a world of literary wonders at our boutique bookstore, where every book tells a story and every corner holds a treasure waiting to be discovered. Immerse yourself in the enchanting aromas of our scented candles, perfect for creating a cozy atmosphere in any space. Explore our exquisite handcrafted jewelry, whether you're searching for the perfect gift for that special someone or simply indulging in a little self-care. Bougainvillea Books and Gifts has something for everyone.
It's in the feeling in how we talk. It's in the meaning in our spot. It is the thing that sets us apart. Who we are. 'Cause the rhythm of life keeps bumping. Together going strong. No matter what, we keep things flowing. Before we will go all in. Our hands up in the sky. Celebrating. Come let your rhythm flow.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Neva Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Neva Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Neva Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Actually, no, that was radio. Welcome back. You are tuned in to Creative Voices,